yourself closer to the fire, my friends. The America's Summer Playoffs march on.
It's round 2. Let's go!
Welcome back to the America's Summer Playoffs. I'm Robert Wing on the desk, joined by Nathan. That's Admiral Zamora. Round 2 is finally upon us. That was a nice long round 1. We had an opportunity to see some great players here, but on the screen, great players, Muzzy.
Oh yeah, Muzzy. When you talk about great players, especially when it comes to the Americas, Muzzy has got to be the guy that comes to mind. He's the points leader in Americas right now, albeit a slim margin, followed closely by his former teammate Zalay. And he's got a lot on the line for this one. I mean, this year has been a string of performances for Muzzy, and with a 1-0 start, it's looking good for him so far.
Yeah, I mean, we talk all the time about the year of killing all day. This is the year of Muzzy, though, man. DreamHack Montreal, as you said, top points leader in the Americas right now, just coming off of the Spring Championship in Shanghai. He's going to go up against Willscarlet. Now, Willscarlet, a tavern hero from Southern California. Actually met Willscarlet a couple times. You see him frequenting the esports arena. Shout out to all the boys and the girls out there playing some Hearthstone, enjoying watching the stream. So Willscarlet's certainly going to have his work cut out for him.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, talking a little bit about Will and esports arena, he's really active in the scene in Southern California. He's you know, going to firesides constantly. He does casting for small local events. I believe his parents run a game store down in Southern California as well, but a tavern hero in this one. But his first opponent was one of the Titans here. He took out Cydonia 3-1 in his first round, and now he's got to face Muzzy. This is a rough couple of rounds for the tavern hero.
This is as trial by fire as Hearthstone.
Oh, yeah.
Gets. You know, you take out Cydonia. Cydonia, one of those players perpetually in that top 16, top 8 hunt. You see him all the time at Grand Prix and big tournaments like this. And as you said, now he has to go up against Muzzy. And now I think Muzzy is definitely the person who, if you were to ask right now, who is the best Hearthstone player in the Americas region, I mean, I think it's safe to say Muzzy is a name most people would go to.
I think it's just the name right now. You know, again, I think it's close amongst if you wanted to pick like the top 5, but he edges them out. And you look at the lineups that have been brought to this tournament, a lot of players have shied away from Shaman, and a lot of players have opted to somewhat target Shaman with lineups, trying to beat them down and really put pressure on them. Muzzy has brought it anyway, and he's been constantly seeing success bringing Shaman, and he frankly just nailed it in this tournament. So many players have brought goofy or weird-looking lineups that Shaman is one of the decks that really punishes that style of play. He's an absolute beast. He's all about consistency, and he knows the math. I've sat with Muzzy and done combat scenarios. He sees every single one of them, and he has a great mind for how to navigate.
And just to be sure, those are card game combat scenarios, not real-life combat.
No, real, like actual karate.
I believe it.
He's a master.
But hop into game number 1, though. It is going to be Willscarlet on that Shaman and Muzzy on the Priest. Now, interesting fact, both of these players brought the exact same classes, exact same archetypes. There are card differences on a per-deck basis. Muzzy bringing that same style of Priest he brought to DreamHack Montreal, which the real thing you need to know about it is heavy cycle. It is there to get to Raza. It is there to get to Shadow Reaper Anduin and just go off with the combo. That is the win condition, and it gets there as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, Muzzy was one of the first players I saw really adopt this style. I was toying around with a few versions myself after I saw Heavy Cycle. I even went as far as to include Cold Light Oracle. The problem with that card is against aggressive decks, you're fueling them just a bit too much, and against combo decks, you're exacerbating what's already somewhat of a bad matchup. But, you know, talking about that cycle, there's a copy of Gnomish Inventor in this deck, Rob. He is very serious about finding Raza and Shadow Reaper Anduin.
Yeah, I played a lot of this deck, and the ability to just get to those combo pieces and get to your win condition quickly against a lot of decks will get you there, especially when you play against some of the other decks that have really heavy finality clauses. So
yeah,
really like it. But we see here Willscarlet having a pretty solid start on this token Shaman, just getting on the board, has the Flame Tongue, has the Primal Fin Totem. This is really what you want to see as that Shaman player.
Oh yeah, and Muzzy here finds the 4 damage on the Kazakus Potion. This is about as classic as a start as you can get to the aggro versus control style of battle. Willscarlet, guns blazing, has taken out all of Muzzy's minions. He's got a lot of heavy pressure coming down. And this is all with just a couple of cards that he's played so far. And so he's throwing caution to the wind here, says my hand isn't strong enough. I have to put Muzzy to the test. If he's got a strong Kazakus Potion, I'm just going to be in trouble. But thinking about slowing himself down, I mean, at any stage of this game, Bloodlust is threatening lethal. he doesn't quite have that just yet, so it looks like he's willing to commit more to the board to prevent Muzzy from ever taking control.
Right, and we see the Evolve in hand, and Evolve is such a strange point when it comes to Shaman outside of Doppelgangster, because there's a lot of back and forth between pros and the community. When do you use it, right? And he had the opportunity to use it there, try to buff up that board, but...
Yeah, I mean, that just would have been no hope,
Yep.
I think. I think that would have been such an incredible risk from Will that I don't think he can afford to take that. You know, the situation where he gets the absolute dream scenario, Kazakus Potion still is going to put a lot of heat on him. So he's going to shake his head when he saw the Kazakus Potion, and Muzzy's got back up to that. This is bad news for Will in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, usually when you're playing this as the Shaman, you're thinking, okay, here's the checklist of what I have to get through before my board actually sticks.
Oh, brother.
Whew.
Sometimes. Muzzy very comfortable at 18, as you can see, and Will just can't help but smile and shake it off. Playing against the Highlander style, where they only have a single copy of all their cards, it feels like they have perfect answers all the time, but frankly, the reason these decks work is because of the amount of redundancy they have just in their effects. You know, Potion of Madness would have been strong there. Shadow Word Pain, to some effect, could have gotten the job done. A Holy Nova at any point. Now, granted, Muzzy has cut that Holy Nova. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Sure.
I got to draw cards and kill things.
Yeah, the long-lamented toolkit of Priest, just so much early game removal, has finally found a home in this particular deck, where it is now just a tier 1 deck because it has, okay, I get to the end of the game, unless, you know, Shadow Reaper Anduin, the combo goes wrong, I'm just going to blow you out. But I have so many early game tools to just bring the board to heal. And, you know, that's what we're seeing. He hasn't even had to commit the Dragonfire Potion yet. He got the Kazakus Potion. We see the Spirit Lash.
This is really clever from Muzzy. So Muzzy using the Spirit Lash here, and perhaps looking to leave some of this board presence behind. That healing totem from Willscarlet, when it heals his minions, Muzzy's going to draw cards if that Northshire Cleric lives. So that could be a play he's looking to set up. Maybe Will doesn't spot that. This is a somewhat rare interaction that you run into, and I'm curious if Will's going to catch this.
I was going to say, I'm also very curious about this Doomsayer. You had just enough mana to play it. I mean, if the Doomsayer goes down, odds are Northshire Cleric is living unless the Devolve comes out.
Now, with Thrall drawn, I just don't know if Will actually has the gas to play Thrall this turn. He may not have another reasonable option.
Wicker Flame, Burn Bristle off the Devolve. Whew.
I'd like to see Will think about this a little bit longer. That Wicker Flame is very threatening right now, and he just gave up Totem Up. So Will is effectively all in this scenario.
Oh, well, okay.
Oh my.
That is
incredibly unfortunate. He just took 10 damage.
You know, luckily he was already so high on health. He can afford to take a few of those unlicensed apothecary shots.
And Will's still smiling. He's high on life too.
You know, he's a cool guy. He's got a cool shirt. It's just enjoying the experience playing against one of the best in the Americas after already dispatching one of the best in the Americas.
Yeah, and that's really the attitude you got to have in these scenarios. You're going to run into some unfortunate stuff. You got to just shake it off and hope for the best next time. This game is just about donezo. Muzzy has major card advantage. He's ahead on board. He's ahead on life. This is the dream scenario.
It's a situation though where unless the Priest really just has extremely poor draws, a lot of time the Shaman can expect to have a really difficult time actually sticking the board. So
yeah, the way that you play the matchup is fairly all in. You want to push for board just like Willscarlet did, and on turn 5, you hope your board doesn't get cleared and that you have Bloodlust available.
I mean, that's all you can hope for. As I said, it kind of comes down to just hoping the Priest does not get the tools. And again, when you approach, how do I deal with Highlander? The longer you let your opponent go and the deeper into the deck, the more time you're giving them to get those answers. So just strong front initially.
Arthas off the hero power from Thrall Death Knight here is really interesting. I'm curious which one of the drops from that is going to be the biggest game changer here. And picking up Thing from Below, Muzzy's just got too much gas. Like, I can't even think of a single card Will could get out of the Death Knight package that really pulls him back into this in a strong manner. You know, I'm thinking Army of the Dead into Evolve perhaps could get something done, but
yeah, not sure what it's going to be, but I just want to point out Muzzy defeated Izzy 3-1 in round 1 for the battle of who got to have 2 Z's in their name, and Muzzy, you know, proving those Z's belong to him.
Rightfully so. bloodlust of his own.
Oh, how sweet would it be as a priest player if you just go wide on the board, mash the bloodlust, and just get the shaman?
I mean, it's looking like that might actually happen here.
All right, well, first things first, got to see what we get off Arphis. What did he bring us? Good boy. You know, normally that's certainly a card that plays to the shaman's win condition of wide board.
That's a very important draw, actually, for Will. If he manages to get a major evolve here and then land the anti-magic shell, the minions could potentially be big enough that they are outside of range of Dragonfire Potion. Now, that would require some colossally large minions, but it's not impossible, I don't think.
It's certainly not impossible, but yeah.
What if he hit Lich King? You know, say he evolves the thing from below into a 7, evolves it to an 8 hero power, manages to get Lich King, finds himself some more gas off that. I
think regardless, this is the time you got to go and make your stand.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, this could be insane crazy.
That's not just insane or crazy. It could be insane and crazy.
Will gonna go for the anti-magic shell right away to trade him board. And you see Muzzy shake his head, but this is fantastic shape for Muzz.
You got answers. You got the answer that matters right here in your hand. That's Dragonfire Potion.
This is fairly smart from Will as well. He says, you know what, I gotta draw Doppelgangster to win. 15 cards left in my deck. Not too bad of a chance.
Yeah, but you're not really drawing anything. You're just living off the top of your deck as a shaman. That's one of their downsides. And
this does oftentimes force that Dragonfire Potion, though. So when he forces that, the Doppelgangster's home free. So this is a reasonable risk to take as well. I personally would have gone all in, and I would have gotten very punished. Will, on the other hand, has a chance to still draw the right card.
I mean, you don't know what you would have gotten off the evolve. There is potentially a world where some of those minions would have been a little hardier. I mean, statistically, it's not unlikely not likely based on what you see on the board, but.
And Muzzy's just fighting the good fight. He says, you know what? I need this Dragonfire Potion to compete with the Doppelgangster. He recognizes the way that he could lose this game, and instead fights for board.
Yeah, you know, I brought it up earlier. He's been extremely sparing in how he's used his resources, just incredibly efficient. And that is really, you know, if you've watched Muzzy for a long time, that's one of the hallmarks. Muzzy is an extremely high IQ player and doesn't just see, oh, wide board that has under 5 health, I should use Dragonfire Potion, right?
Right. He's thinking about what are the opportunities where I lose this game? And the thing that's coming to mind for him is exactly Doppelgangster Evolve. And now he's so comfortable and in the lead, he says, this Velen, just a big old minion.
Okay, there's the Doppelgangster. There's the Doppelgangster.
The craziness to look at this game and go, if Muzzy did not hold this Dragonfire Potion, he could legitimately be in trouble in this spot. That's the kind of foresight that puts Muzzy in a lead for the points race in the Americas.
All right, there's the evolve. Let's see what we get.
And that's not doing it.
Stormwatcher, you know, normally would be fairly strong against Priest, that 4-8 stat line. Wind Fury, but...
However, we're looking at...
a 10 damage Dragonfire Potion with the Velen.
Now, I mean, given how Muzzy's played the game thus far, though, I'm not even sure that he does Dragonfire Potion. At this point, it's... Like, I look at it and I go, oh, you Dragonfire Potion. But the way that he's played this game gives you such a sense of how much he's actually digging in to all the ins and outs of the match.
All right, I'm going to say this is the board that finally commands the Dragonfire Potion. You know, you look it over, you think, okay, you know, what can I get through here? You only have 2 minions on the board. Maybe you do some shadow form hijinks to start putting in a little bit of damage. But I think, Nathan, I'm saying this is the Dragonfire board.
I'm going to Dragonfire. Now, granted, I'm going to run over this Gnomon and hit for 7 first, but
sure,
I am going to Dragonfire.
I think at the end of the day, you take that Dragonfire Potion from your hand, you drag it out onto that board. And
he's thinking about something.
Well, I mean, you have your Shadow or Death.
All right.
The Shadow or Death, you know, certainly open up other possibilities, but there's that just Acolyte to challenge, you know, if one of those small minions, Shaman has a bunch of them, comes out on the board, you're just drawing cards. And, well, you're not making totems anymore.
Willscarlet is about 2/3 of the way, or about 1/3 of the way to his destination, and...
Of Dunzo.
Yeah.
At least in game 1, anyway. You know, I was watching an interesting exchange the other day on Twitter between some players. Basically, the question of, do we actually think Thrall, is actually good. The Death Knight Thrall. Because obviously you're giving up one of the strongest things about Shaman, to just populate the board and make minions. And this style of Shaman is just so heavily predicated on we win with Bloodlust. Oh yeah, do it, Muzzy.
For the man who has everything.
What do you get him? Some cards from Ungoro.
This is just an embarrassment of riches at this stage.
I'm embarrassed on his behalf. I'm sorry, Muzzy. I'm sorry I had to put up with all these riches.
I can tell you who's not sorry. Muzzy.
That's true. Muzzy as an assassin takes game number 1 here, rather. Willscarlet says he's had enough. He doesn't need to see any more here. He's going to go ahead and get himself ready for game 2.
Yeah, there's no reason for Will to sit there and just take his beating for the next 15 cold, long minutes of fighting against Priest. You know, you put up the good fight. I think the risks that Will took were very calculated and correct as well.
Yeah.
And it just didn't get there at the end of the day. Priest can be a very tough matchup for that deck.
Oh, I mean, this is not the olden days of Shaman versus Priest. Priest is a tier 1 class right now with a tier 1 deck, and Shaman has actually had about a 42% win rate, I believe, throughout the playoffs thus far. So it's a Brave New World featuring Anduin Red.
Yes, and it is quite frightening how much that one card has changed the class. You know, Priest, it struggled to close every single time, but now it's got that clock.
Yeah, Muzzy, as we said, having a absolutely amazing year. You know, the spring season has brought highs and lows for Muzzy. He was able to, with that spring season, win his first playoffs. You know, he took the America Spring playoffs. Unfortunately, wasn't quite able to seal the deal in Shanghai, but you know, despite this, Muzzy is still confident about both the ups and the downs of his play.
I really wanted to make it to Shanghai.
Congratulations, Muzzy. You are not only coming to Shanghai, but you're coming home with the trophy from the Americas region.
Felt really good. Finally felt like a lot of the time and effort I put into this game paid off.
Muzzy just decimating opponent after opponent.
Is there any meaning that you were able to just not lose a single series throughout the entire tournament?
I don't know. It feels pretty dominating.
To go 10-0, that's pretty remarkable. And so seeing myself go 10-0, it's pretty astounding. But I'm not going into the championships like, wow, I'm never going to lose again. I'm never going to lose another game of Hearthstone again. I wasn't ever thinking that at that point.
It is over. Citizen Napa is going to the top 8.
I didn't feel too good at that point. I felt pretty devastated, but I knew that I had to move on to my next match, and most likely I would be playing Nyria again.
Well, that's going to be it. Never mind about us. More about these guys. Nyria does take the series and the rematch over Muzzy.
The ultimate goal is to win and qualify. That's why, you know, I'm playing the game. I want the taste of victory. But when I lost to Nyria, I was like, well, it happens. I don't really put pressure on myself in that regard. You can play really, really, really well and just miss out on your opportunity. And of course, that'll feel bad, but it's just the player's character that makes them be able to deal with the losses.
He is a man that, make no doubt about it, deserves to make his way to a world championship. So I hope he can have a good run through summer later on.
To qualify for the World Championship, that's pretty much my goal ever since I first started playing this game competitively. I want to put myself there as one of the best players in Hearthstone. So hopefully I can go 10-0 again and then be the first person to go 20-0 in 2 consecutive championships, you know?
Muzzy looking to 20-0, certainly off to a good start here.
That smile.
You and I spoke to Muzzy in Shanghai. We talked to him a lot, and Muzzy is one of the least emotional players I think I've ever met, right? He just evaluates things very dispassionately. He takes his wins and his losses, and he says he was devastated after that loss, but when we saw him backstage after the loss, he basically looked the same as he was prepping for any other game.
Yeah, he copes with the losses very quickly, which is somewhat interesting to look at because Muzzy often appears as though he's nervous. I think just the competition in general is building up this anticipation where he kind of wants it to be over, but he's still in the zone. It doesn't affect the way he actually thinks and plays the game. It's just the way that he feels in the moment, which many players are very affected by that feeling, myself included. When I get very nervous, I start playing real bad.
Yeah, and certainly having the ability to have, what you'd say in traditional sports is often said as a short memory certainly helps you, but
wow.
Willscarlet able to forget the last game really quickly with an opening like this.
This is lightning in a bottle here. My gosh, what an opening hand.
I do want to point out Muzzy has Devolve, and that has traditionally been one of the most important tools when dealing with that Murloc tribal.
Yeah, the key here for Muzzy is going to be when to actually use that Devolve. You know, it's good against Paladin at many stages of the game. When is it actually at its best? And that often is the case when your opponent has lots of small things down that are very threatening. You know, landing on a Spike Ridge Steed is obviously very strong, but you have to be able to nab board first. And so Muzzy's patience here, he's just not under that much of a threat. Will's already shown that he wants to control the board very heavily. He appears to be able to simply slow this down. Now he's got the Rockpool Hunter out of it.
Yeah, he's really just letting Will play out the hand, just see what he can get off the Devolve, because the Murlocs, certainly when you Devolve them, their power comes from the synergy, not from the actual cost of the card. So Devolve will be very brutal. Take a look at some of the key cards, though, in Muzzy's Evolved Shaman. You see there, Devolve, the Galaka Crawler, we also saw teched out in his Highlander Priest, and then Thrall Deathseer, which, again, product we've been seeing in a few Shaman decks, and there comes the War Leader, and
a lot of damage.
Willscarlet off to the races.
This is almost the exact situation Muzzy was looking for. Now, the problem he's going to have in this game is that Will's hand has a lot of backup to this.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if Muzzy delays this Devolve even more. Maybe he finds a Chain Lightning here onto the War Leader. I doubt it. This is just way too much to handle.
Yeah, and he certainly hits what he's looking at. Yeah.
Kindly Grandmother's a big one, too. So Muzzy, he's looking for Maelstrom Portal, and he's going to need it fast. Willscarlet picks up Sunkeeper, Tareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's about to slam dunk if Muzzy can't find anything.
Yeah, it's going to be a straight-up tomahawk jam. You made my guys smaller, my guys are going to get bigger again.
And that is not a way to handle that. Muzzy is dead.
Yeah.
Willscarlet with a dream opener runs into the Devolve and has the Tarim to follow up. Just absolutely perfect for him. That's one of the reasons why Paladin is so strong, is when it draws its cards on curve, you just don't beat it. It's just not the way it works.
Yeah, even the Devolve, it just, walked right into that Tarim turn. There was no Maelstrom Portal to clean it up.
Considering some trades here, but setting Muzz to 1 often means Muzz doesn't win. Now, if Will decides to trade here, a second Devolve could be troublesome. It would still take a miracle for Muzz to get out of the game.
I mean, the second Devolve is certainly, would decrease the power on board, but you do have the Tarim. Tarim goes down to a 5-cost minion. You have the Corpse Taker, so it's definitely not the end of the world. Wow.
1 card away.
Maelstrom Portal, where were you? You said you'd always be there, but you're not.
It's just, it has to be just the most underappreciated card.
Well, Maelstrom Portal shows up and accomplishes very little, and that is going to be a tie series for Willscarlet. So Willscarlet showing signs of life after, frankly, what was a pretty powerful opening draw as the Murloc Paladin.
I will say that both players' lineups, I think, are going to struggle against Paladin. It's either going to be a Murloc Mirror, where the player who goes first has the attack initiative and is typically at a gigantic advantage as a result. Priest, the Paladin list they've brought has the Corpse Takers. It scales all the way up through Tyrion, even with Curator in the deck. They're meant to take on Priest very strong, and so I think if there's one game that Will absolutely should expect to find a win with, it's got to be Paladin.
Yeah, the Paladin deck going to have to do work, though, if he wants to take out a great player of Muzzy's caliber, but find out what happens in game number 3 right after this.
Gather round the fire, for there's a new tale to be told. This is the America Summer Playoffs!
Welcome back to the America's Summer Playoffs. We have a tie series here between Muzzy, or the Muzz God, as we call him, and Willscarlet, local tavern hero from Southern California.
That's right. He's got 2 Titans in a row that he has to face. He took out Sidonia 3-1, and now he's in a tied set with Muzzy, who's on deck with Paladin.
Yeah, actually, you wanted to talk really quickly here about Willscarlet's Priest. His Priest has some has some kind of unique cards here, actually. Just going down the list, two that I really want to point out, Dirty Rat and Mukla, Tyrant of the Veil.
Yeah, the Mukla is a very strange choice. A 6-mana 5/5 that adds 2 bananas to your hand. And those bananas are 1 mana, give a minion +1/+1. He is not looking to buff his minions. He's looking to combo that with Shadow Reaper Anduin and unlock many activations in a single turn. But he's also got Cabal Shadow Priest in there too. He's got a lot of expensive cards that you don't traditionally find in Priest. Alongside that Dirty Rat, he's trying to hit cards in the mirror match like Raza. You hit a Raza, you can sometimes outright win the game because your opponent doesn't have access to that. The problem with Will's tech is that Muzzy's already won with his Priest.
Yeah.
And so that Mukla is not going to serve us well into aggressive matchups. That Dirty Rat is not going to serve us well against Paladin, who just has tons of big minions that want to just start rumbling on board. You don't really care if they're just 4/6s. They hit really hard. So Will's got his work cut out for him, but this is a fantastic turn for him.
Yeah, we saw there a little bit of early jostling back and forth for board position. The Doomsayer was able to resolve, go ahead and deal with the early Galaka Crawler. Muzzy, of course, responding with that Rallying Blade, and Willscarlet able to utilize the coin there, buff the Acolyte to be able to withstand that Rallying Blade.
Good old 5/4.
Yeah, that is a dinosaur that does 5 damage.
And Muzz holds the weapon here as well, despite drawing the True Silver Champion. He knows that his way to win this board is largely to choke out Will's resources. He wants to have Will in a spot where he's forced to use all of his tools in a defensive manner, so by the time he gets to Shadow Reaper Anduin, he doesn't have the gas to really fight super efficiently for board. He'll be riding mostly just on the strength of the hero power at that point. That's where Muzz's big cards like the Curator and Bone Mare really take full effect.
I see Willscarlet chuckling there as he realizes he has to take Vilefin Inquisitor just to get a card, but he basically never wants to play Vilefin Inquisitor.
Yeah, it's really bad to replace his own hero power, and it doesn't even fuel the Shadow Reaper Anduin late because, once again, it replaces the hero power. So he wants to play that basically right before he plays Shadow Reaper Anduin.
Ooh, Shadowward Pain off the top is a tremendous draw, though. Deal with that buffed up Corpse Taker. Dinosaur, though, still just running wild, man. It's like Jurassic Park in here. The pens are open. Somebody needs to put that guy down.
He's very gentle, though.
He's a not so gentle Megasaur. Look at that.
That's what they thought about the dinosaurs.
The sequel.
And Muzz, I'm actually somewhat surprised he clears out this Galaka Crawler in this spot. He's paying very close attention to the health of his gentle Megasaur here and wants to have repetitive shots from that to put Will in a bad spot. And no Shadow or Death and no Silence means that Willscarlet is in a bad spot.
Yeah, you saw him briefly considering Priest of the Feast before he dug with Shadow Visions, just saying, okay, I just want to get some health back. But then realizing that if he goes ahead and does that, he will not have the mana to play the Shadow or Death should he get it. So interesting to see how he takes this. And yeah, he's just going to go ahead and get the guaranteed 3 health here. Really needs to find Silence, something, Shadow or Death.
Yeah, 1 copy of Silence in the deck.
Yeah.
And Snap takes the Shadow Word Horror. So he's got Pint Size to couple with that. But he also has Cabal Shadow Priest. So I'm really surprised by the Shadow Word Horror take here, as we've hit the stage of the game where Muzzy just wants to play big stuff. And the deck lists are open to the players. Muzzy's got the Cobalt Scalebane in there. He's got Stormwatcher. He's got Tyrion. He's not really playing for that small, wide board synergy anymore. He's just playing giant monsters.
And let's just appreciate how juicy Muzzy's board is here. This is just out of range of Dragonfire Potion. It's pushing so much pressure.
This is why Muzzy hit that Galaka Crawler. This is the kind of thought that I was talking about earlier, where he just sees what to do. I don't really know how to explain it, but just Muzzy sees it all.
Yeah, it's players of his caliber. You see that with players like Amnesiac, him, Shocky. When we were seeing him compete more, that was just they had the ability to make these reads with the board state that just translate to so much result.
Look at this play from Muzzy as well. So now he puts Will in a really tough spot where Shadow Reaper Anduin is not a viable option here. Pint Size Horror won't take care of the whole board, and Dragonfire Potion is only clearing one of these 2 things right now. So Will's going to find a way out of here. He's going to have to make wonderful use of the resources he's got, and this is, again, the position Muzzy wants to put him in. Force all of these resources so that way when he gets to the late game, he doesn't have the gas for Shadow Reaper Anduin.
Potion Madness feels pretty good here. Put some damage onto that leftover Stegodon. Get rid of the Curator. Even going so far as to Holy Smite that, just does not want to take the 2 damage there, realizing his health very low.
It's a lot of stuff to use.
Yeah, if a Bone Mare had come down, which we do see in Muzzy's hand, that would have juiced it up.
And Will holds on to the pint size in this turn, clearly looking for the pint size Cabal Shadow Priest combo on something significant. And it looks like he might find that this turn.
Yeah, I'm going to be very glad to have that right there.
As he just swings again.
It's like, I got Tyrion in hand, and there's an Ashbringer coming out soon.
Well, I think that pint-sized Cabal Shadow Priest is the one thing Muzzy may not have accounted for this, but he's got Bone Mare in hand to run that straight over. And then if he sees the Tyrion, I'm sorry, the Shadow Reaper Anduin in that sense, then he's got Tyrion to follow up. It's not really an aggressive Paladin deck. It's just a mid-range Paladin that can have very aggressive,
I mean, it has hit the mid-range tools in the mid-range portion of the game. I mean, that's what it is.
Curator has just been monstrous this game with the pickup of the Cobalt Scalebane. He has so much gas.
Yeah, we've seen some other players with their Paladin decks go all the way into double Cobalt Scalebane and the Curator as well, just to make sure they have access to those very powerful minions. Muzzy going ahead and deciding he still likes the Corpse Taker suite, still wants to cash in on that, and includes the 1 Scalebane and then the Curator, so certainly seeing results from that.
Will down to just 9 life. Clear skies for now, but it is thundering with a chance of Tyrion Forge Rings.
Not to be a meteorologist to know that's bad weather.
Put your faith in the light.
That's a tier 8 Paladin just coming in and just going.
I mean, look at the lightning behind that Ashbringer.
It is bad news bears.
Will is in a heap of trouble.
Is someone injured?
Yeah, I can go ahead and play down the Spirit Lash. Dig for more cards, dig for answers. Has the Shadow or Death, but just needs more.
Oh my.
I mean, Raza's good.
That is a lot of damage that Will's going to take if he plays this Raza.
Up until this point, he's been extremely diligent in the last couple turns, just trying to make sure nothing stays on the board.
Goodness.
Trying desperately to play around the Bone Mare.
It's still a lot of damage he's going to take, even if he doesn't play the Raza.
Now, Muzzy's only running 1 copy of Bone Mare, 1 copy of Spike Ridge Steed. He's seen the Spike Ridge Steed already. I'm just going wide on the board here. He keeps knocking on the door, just gets something to stick.
And now, lands on the perfect spot.
Radiant Elemental not going to do it. Willscarlet in truly dire straits in Game 3.
One more draw here, but all of his AoE is gone.
Could draw Kazakis, but even then, you have the 5 health.
He doesn't really have the mana for it. Dirty Rat. Pulls the Crawler.
I mean, that is the better outcome.
Lethal damage on board for Muzzy.
Willscarlet going to go ahead and just concede it up.
A beatdown from Muzzy. Curator was such an important tool for him during that game. And honestly, the big catalyst to the Curator was simply playing the Gentle Megasaur on turn 4. You don't have to get the Battle Cry for that card to be powerful. You just need to deliver damage with it. So once it got suited up with the Spike Ridge Steed, it just turn after turn, 7 damage, 7 damage. And notice Muzzy was using weapons to trade with, not his actual minion despite its health. He wanted to keep it outside of the range of potion. Just everything came into place for him.
And Muzzy constantly basically saying to Willscarlet, you are playing Highlander. Do you have the answer? I am playing the Gentle Megasaur. Do you have the answer for this? No. Suddenly you get great value on the buffed up Acolyte of Pain, and it just all went his way from there.
Yeah, just fantastic looking play from Muzzy.
Yeah, just needs to get 1 win now on the Shaman. And as we talked about earlier, Shaman has not been doing too well over the course of the summer season, but Willscarlet still has to get a win on his own Shaman as well as that Highlander Priest.
Yeah, and the tools that Willscarlet has teched into his Priest, still pretty reasonable in this matchup. Dirty Rat's actually fairly decent versus Shaman. Sometimes you can pull out Mana Tide Totem or a Thing from Below in the right situation and actually punish them for that patient play.
Ooh.
The Mukla is awful. I mean, there's not any two ways to slice that. But Cabal Shadow Priest not the worst, you know, but usually if Will gets to that stage, he's probably home free, and Muzz draws the worst one.
Does not play it though. Now this is one of my favorite situations in all of high-level Hearthstone. You have the Dirty Rat. It is turn 2. Everything in your body, everything in your being tells you, I cannot play this. I cannot play this.
But it's a 2/6 taunt for 2, Rob.
And what if you hit patches? What if you hit a Bloodsail Corsair? Nathan, what if?
Think of the possibilities.
Most of the possibilities are not great for you. You could hit the Naked Flame Tongue Totem.
Hitting that Manatide Totem is a great outcome for Will. Only 2 consecutive attacks is what it takes to clear it.
Nathan, what if?
I think the wiser side of Will is showing here, but smiles nonetheless. You could tell he really wanted to rip that.
And look, Manatide Totem came down. Now you have nothing to contest it with, Nathan.
Great job, Will.
Yeah.
And this Manatide Totem may be going to town here.
It is just out there doing its thing, and ain't nobody gonna stop it.
And I'm curious if Muzzy plays anything in this situation.
And you can just get rid of the patches right here, make it not a liability to Galaka, get rid of the Acolyte, just make it cycle. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, this is absolutely perfect. And now, if Will wants to do anything, he has to Shadow Word Horror.
Patches can't betray you if Patches is dead.
The Manatide Totem's already drawn 2 cards. The Flame Tongue did its job. Shadow Word Horror is down now, and that's one of the most powerful tools versus this deck.
And Muzzy just going to continue to populate the board over and over again. And just basically keep saying to Willscarlet, do you have the answer? We see that Bloodlust sitting in hand. And
you know, I said Mukla was terrible, but with the way that Muzzy has played this, which I want to iterate, I believe is correct. Play it slow and look for, you know, very powerful turns unlocked with Flame Tongue and Bloodlust. It is. Oh,
we're
no.
going for it.
Oh no, this is bad. Oh, don't do it, Will.
Will, choose life.
Don't do it.
Choose life, Will.
No, Will.
Okay, that could have been worse.
He hit the better of the 2.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. But this board looks strong enough for a devolve.
Are you feeling like you're in a position where you want to spend your silence on the Flame Tongue Totem? If you don't, you are just basically essentially giving up the Dirty Rat.
I'm silencing. Whoa. Now that's
this
really
is such a
interesting
tell if you do this.
Well, that's really interesting to me. I think Will's trying to feign that he actually doesn't have a way to answer a wide board state here. And that may trap Muzzy sometimes, but this devolve is so good.
Oh, that used to be a gangster. Now it's just a young Dragon Hawk.
Yeah.
Life comes at you fast.
Crime doesn't pay.
No, it does not. No, it does not.
Now, Will still has some pretty strong tools
to work with here. If you're Muzzy, you see that silence come out, and then you saw the Flame Tongue Totem. Do you feel like you just learned more about the context of Willscarlet's hand? Because there's a world where that thing pumping out 1/1s is actually not a big deal if you have certain cards in it.
Yeah, and I think this is that scenario. I mean, look how patient Muzzy's willing to play this. He doesn't really want to commit the thing from below to board. He just says, he's got more AoE. This is the spot for it. And Will, now torn. Does he want to Holy Nova and strand the Galaka Crawler? Or does he want to use the Galaka Crawler and risk the damage?
I think you Holy Nova here. I think you have to be safe. That's what it comes down to against Shaman.
Well, this Holy Nova this is a sizable risk as well. Now, if Muzzy rolls a Healing Totem,
sure,
that Spirit Lash isn't looking so good.
Now, Muzzy manages to play at this high level despite what is, frankly, an absolutely busy schedule of going to school, hanging out with other people. He's just incredible what he's able to do in such a short amount of time.
For me, it's been go to class, come back, play Hearthstone, do my work, go to sleep, go to class, play Hearthstone. You know, there's not really any other activities that I really have the time to do. So, you know, it's been a pretty busy life and not much sleep.
Wow. The Evolve looked so good. Will has the Galaka Crawler in the 3-4. He has the Ooze on the weapon. And Muzzy's Devolve was meant to play around Spirit Lash. That's exactly what he was thinking about. And he draws Jade Lightning. Did he just get the sign that Will does not have Dragonfire Potion? I think he did. There's no way he's holding this thing from below.
No way!
Would you believe you're wrong, Nathan? And down comes Mukla, Tyrant of the Veil.
18 damage from Muzzy. If he'd have played the thing from below, you'd be looking at 26 damage. But now, Willscarlet has the Mukla on board. So if he has Dragonfire Potion, that means he can banana it up first, Dragonfire and clear. So now Muzzy's got some thinking to do. Is this the time for Evolve number 2?
What to do?
The window is closing rapidly. I'm almost always on the side of just taking the Evolve in this situation because, again, you're not drawing cards. You are just living on the top of your deck. The only other thing in your hand is that Bloodlust. You have, at this point, a reasonable cause to suspect there is not a Dragonfire Potion in hand, unless Willscarlet is simply the most patient player that you've ever come up with.
This was the other thought from Muzzy, too. Do I take the Bloodlust damage now? So he clears out the Mukla Tyrant, nails some damage.
Can still evolve here if he wants to. I'm just going to go ahead and pass it up. Okay, well, Priest of the Feast here.
Some hidden synergy here with Mukla Tyrant and Priest of the Feast.
Yeah. Willscarlet here, considering the Velen, that would be a 2-damage Spirit Lash, which really doesn't accomplish... I mean, it halves the board, essentially.
Well, he's seen both Jade
You're getting a bunch of
Lightnings.
health back, yeah. I mean, it brings you about to full health.
He's seen a Maelstrom Portal. He's seen 2 Flame Tongues. There's not really a lot that punishes this spot.
And we see Muzzy for the first time in the series actually looking like he's coming up against a problem that's going to require a lot of thought.
It is incredibly difficult to imagine calculating all the different possibilities of Evolve and Evolve. Wow. And Muzzy's clearly playing for board in this spot. He says, you know what? I had to use this Bloodlust to clear. If I tried to go for lethal, I get punished by any amount of board clear, any significant healing. But now he's just getting outright pressured out of the game.
Yeah, Cabal Shadow Priest, certainly a card which hasn't necessarily seen too much value in certain situations, but in this one he's going to...
Whoa. And Will pushes 7. I love this play from Will. He's seen so much from Muzzy that he's just forcing him to have a strong hand here.
Is it Evolve time? Is it finally just Evolve time?
Looks like it. Goes to a 4, goes to a 7. Oh, reasonable 4. Oh my.
Whew.
That is really bad news for Muzzy. This is just about as full of a clear as you can imagine. And that Frozen Crusher, it may be frozen on the next attack, but it outright kills.
Yeah, it needs to do what it's going to do this turn to get the value.
And we're seeing game 5. Muzzy's gassed. Will's got full board.
It's going to be the old Shaman Mirror. That one is a particularly tasty match.
Will just gonna hold the banana. So, yeah, kill the 2/2 if you want.
I don't know. That Aya changes the shape of this game.
I mean, the Aya was definitely a huge draw here. But the Crusher's going back to 8 health. Well, I don't know, man. Aya was a huge draw. If Muzzy can draw Thrall, or even at this stage Doppelgangster, is a pretty sizable threat.
Maelstrom Portal off the top.
That allows him to do some clearing work.
And you put the Aya into that Crusher, play the Maelstrom Portal.
You know, if Muzzy hits spell power off that, he would be able to clear the board down and have himself a lone 4/4 in this situation. Wow.
I can say, I think Priest of the Feast actually ends up just being the better target overall. You just do not want more health in the coming turn.
Taunt Totem in the way is a really big deal against the Frozen Crusher too. Kazakis, fresh drawn for Will, and this could be crushing.
Going for that 10 mana potion too, Willscarlet just says, I need all the magic I can get.
So we took, what was it?
Summoned an 8/8 demon and summoned 3 friendly minions, so he's just going for that big board.
I don't really blame him for that, honestly. I mean, at 27, with a greater healing potion in hand, he's seen a Bloodlust. He's pretty darn safe to take a very greedy value potion here.
If you'd taken the 5 potion, you could have just gone for deal all damage to 4, go for the clear.
I don't think the
Could have played it
Crusher
on this
attacks here.
turn. Yeah, I was going to say, maybe, to your point, the health is so high, you have seen a Bloodlust.
Well, now Muzzy gets to isolate the Frozen Crusher once again against the Taunt Totem. And Muzzy has a clear on the rest of the minions if he'd like, and that's exactly what he's going to go for. Did Will's greedy potion put him at risk?
Pretty good draw.
Huge
Pretty good draw.
Draw for Will. Muzzy is donezo. Game 5. I can't believe this game was as back and forth as it was.
But it looked all but iced for Willscarlet until Aya Blackpaw came off the top, and Golems are both a girl's and Muzzy's best friend. Yeah, we see Muzzy just going wide on the board, playing to that second Bloodlust.
Yeah, even then, it is very far off that happening. And look, you see Muzzy raise an eyebrow.
Oh my goodness, the beasts all have charge because of the Tundra Rhino.
Wow.
Priest summons 3 beasts. Play my beasts? Yup.
That is unreal.
You're the hunter now.
Honestly, he could have gotten like...
Yeah. It's mostly just fun because you never see it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is very strange to see that happen. We'll just laughing it up. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's never going to happen to him ever again.
Yeah, I mean, that is certainly the first time I've ever seen that. But more importantly, Will goes ahead and ties up this series. So 2-2, Willscarlet on the verge of taking out a second big name from the Americas Pro scene.
Yeah, and Muzzy in playoff matches, not counting championships, in playoff matches, Muzzy is 11-0 in his last 11 matches.
Yeah,
so
want to see if he can make it 12-0. We'll find out right after this.
Don't stray too far away from the fire, my friends. There's more tales to tell. This is the America Summer Playoffs!
Who is this man challenging Muzzy, one of the greats of the America's Hearthstone scene? Willscarlet got here through the Tavern Hero system. Let's learn a little bit more about him. As you see, they're active in the Southern California fireside gathering scene, a regular at the esports arena where a lot of players come together, congregate, play Hearthstone against each other. And as you said earlier, he does a little bit of casting work in some of these smaller events locally.
That's right. And, you know, qualifying through Tavern Hero, you're like, oh, that's awesome. I'm on the Hearthstone Championship Tour. 1-0 versus Sidonia, and now forcing Game 5 versus Muzzy. That is colossal for a Tavern Hero.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to the mirror here. Shaman versus Shaman. Only difference in these deck lists. One difference. Yeah. One Stonehill Defender for Muzzy, one Saronite Chain Gang for Willscarlet.
Yeah, Will's looking directly towards the Evolve, and Muzzy sticking with that old tried and true. The Stonehill Defender finding you that extra bit of value. Of course, has a chance to find, you know, Alec here, the Windlord, the chance to find Thing from Below. a lot of difficult early game things to find this matchup, usually on the attacker's advantage. Will keeps Manatide Totem in his opening hand, and I find that
ambitious.
Quite ambitious. You know, this matchup is typically decided by the early game combat. The player who takes the board first and doesn't get Maelstrom portaled is usually at a major advantage.
Right, no Lightning Storm to be found in either of these decks. You know, occasionally on ladder you might see one teched in. It is just purely Maelstrom portal, so boards tend to stick.
Yeah. And notice no Maelstrom portal for Will, but Muzzy does have one. You know, I mean, again, I have to say, forcing Game 5 for Will is just unbelievably big. Muzzy on the 11-0 streak in playoff matches, looking to keep that at 12-0. I don't think this is the opponent he imagined would be stopping the streak if it was there. Muzzy draws patches. And Will's got Doppelgangster Evolve. And he's also got the Saranac Chain Gang if he needs it a little bit early. Suddenly, the Manatide Totem keep is looking quite brilliant.
I mean, I still think if you evaluate it at the moment, it definitely in this particular mirror seems a little bit greedy, I would say. But yeah, it's looking like it's actually just going to pay off based on the series of draws now we see from Willscarlet.
Muzzy just plays all his stuff on the board, and I quite like this.
You think he's going for that early evolve?
Well, Will's got to think about that evolve, too. On his side, he goes for the Manatide Totem. I don't know about that, Rob. That is very risky.
It's... Oh.
Well, Muzzy's definitely going for the evolve if he's playing the patches this turn. He knows that it's a very realistic possibility that this gets swung right back. And so Muzzy, the only thing he doesn't want to see is 1 health minions off the evolve. And he sees 3 of them. But the Darkshire Councilman, that grows every time Muzzy gets a minion.
Which would be great if Muzzy had a bunch of cards in his hand. Still good, you have the hero power that generates minions, but...
Muzzy shakes his head a bit here. Disaster.
There is the Doppelgangster.
But it honestly,
oh my goodness,
the body is enough right now
for the Darkshire Councilman.
Yeah. So Muzzy,
pump it up.
He's hoping he doesn't see Jade Lightning. Jade Lightning is the nightmare card for him right now. Second, Jade Claws gets drawn. This is nuts. Muzzy is living by the top of his deck. This is where that Stonehill Defender's good. This is where Thing from Below is insane. This is where Thrall could blow the game wide open.
Darkshire Councilman, I'll tell you, absolutely large and in charge here. Okay.
But the Doppelgangster Evolve.
Okay, Will. We see
the prayer
Will
hands.
saying namaste.
Muzzy rolls his eyes as he sees it. A pretty reasonable outcome, but the Beast can be a significant liability in some situations. So the question for Muzzy is, does he devolve this turn or not? And I don't think he does, because the Councilman... I think Muzzy... Oh, no. Necrotic Geist and Cultist. So now he takes out the card. Oh, it's not Necrotic Geist. I thought that was the 5/3 that summoned 2/2s every time it hit. I think Muzzy may have missed an opportunity here to take the Beast, but he actually just pushes damage instead.
It's a lot of damage.
But he's going to get shut down. Muzzy is way behind all of a sudden. So put yourself in a different perspective on that turn. If Muzzy had cracked the Councilman into the Beast, he takes a 3/3 onto his side of the board, and then that doesn't devolve into another minion at that point. Granted, he keeps his 8/2 in that spot, but it's -1 minion for Will and +1 minion for Muzzy. And Aya with the Jades rolling. Muzzy...
I think Willscarlet has this series at this point.
There is almost 0% chance Muzzy comes back from this spot. And that's lights out.
On the off chance something were to happen, you have the Doppelgangster again. You have the second evolve.
Doomsayer was it. Muzzy doesn't find it. And Willscarlet, 2-0 start, takes out Cydonia, former winner of an America's Championship, takes out Muzzy, the previous winner of the America's Championship, the Tavern Hero, at 2-0 versus the world's greats.
You see Willscarlet with the pop-off there, and if there was ever a reason to have a little bit of a pop-off, you have taken out Cydonia. You have taken out Muzzy. Now, albeit this is Swiss, they're not completely out of it by far. They've only taken 1 loss apiece, but that is something to be absolutely proud of.
Especially in a mirror-matched lineup where Muzzy took a win with his Priest early on. Will's Priest was meant to tackle that Priest mirror match, and so he was at a disadvantage once Muzzy found a win with that Priest. At that stage, he had to win 2 straight games versus that Shaman. Paid off big by keeping the Manatide Totem, ended up drawing the right gas, found the Doppelgangster with the Evolve, just got everything going his way. Just awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't go anywhere, though, guys. We have more action coming up. It is going to be Monsanto taking on Dr. J right after this.